with the South African Institute for Aquatic Biodiversity, which is a research institute of the South African National Research Foundation. And we've been brought into the Nucleus project as a partner with the South African Agency for Science and Technology Advancement, who is the consortium partner with Nucleus, representing South Africa. So in August 2017, which was quite far into the project, SAIAB was approached by SAASTA with the idea of joining the Nucleus project and being a South African case study. When we were approached, we thought that's a good opportunity for us to get involved in a project that was outside of ourselves, bigger than ourselves, and to look at ourselves in a different way. So we agreed to come on as the embedded Nucleus. Firstly, I think one of the major advantages for us was that we had high-level buy-in right from the start. So this project was something that had been brokered by SAASTA, approved by the National Research Foundation, and was being embedded in a national facility of the National Research Foundation. So there is buy-in from every level of governance associated with the project. So we haven't necessarily had to fight battles to have the project recognized. We've not had to reinvent the wheel. It's been a far better exercise to look at what we are actually doing and how the principles of responsible research and innovation are integrated already into what we do. Because we have the support from the highest levels, we are in a strategic planning process that has to incorporate RRI. So we're aligning our activities going forward with RRI principles, as well as building on the institutional values. The NRF have a set of values that feed directly into principles of RRI and the Sustainable Development Goals. So we're taking that larger context and we're feeding what we are doing and what we plan to do in the direction we'd like to go forward using that paradigm. We've got a very wide range of practitioners in the science space who are all very aware of the need to change the paradigm of science, and to hear what different people have to say from the point of view of, well, let the scientists who want to do it, and let the others who don't not. Catalyzing that debate into a strategic planning document is actually a very interesting exercise. Right from early on in the process, I thought, well, what opportunities are there to use being an embedded Nucleus as a catalyst for engaging with people that we wouldn't normally engage with. So we've been trying to look out of the box, taking it outside of the science paradigm and saying, well, what other aspects in the academic space are there that could be mobilized? And I think marketing and communications is definitely one. We've built an association with a research chair at Rhodes University in biotechnology, innovation and communication. We've taken the opportunity to do some combined workshops, one at the National Science Festival held in Grahamstown, SciFest Africa, and another one later in the year at the National Arts Festival. So to try and get RRI in space, both scientists and the artists, so that it is as seen as a cross-cutter. If we're looking at insights and lessons learned, and if I were to say to somebody, this is what I would suggest you do, because I think this is what Nucleus is trying to do. It's trying to get to some kind of blueprint about how can you make RRI work in your institute. You need to work smart to win hearts and minds within the institute. Finding a way to talk, finding platforms, and we have found platforms through our general staff meetings. It's not just been something we've discussed at a high level. We've discussed it with everybody who works here, and stimulated a kind of co-responsibility for the change, which is one of the action areas that Nucleus is looking at. And then identifying or asking our researchers to identify when it is they are engaging, because I think this is an area that, because it's not rewarded in science, they tend to think it doesn't count. It's always been relegated to the soft stuff, or that stuff we have to do every now and again. And it's when they're doing it without realizing they're doing it that it actually has the most impact. So what we've done is integrated an element in the quarterly reporting that researchers do for our corporate reporting. We've just put an element in there which we have called engaged research. And by using that terminology, we have found that they engage with it, because they suddenly start to see it as part of their research rather than in addition to. And you suddenly start getting this picture building and data about what they're doing without it actually being any extra work for them at all. It's just part of what they're doing. But you need to give it value. And that's the challenge going forward, is how do we give that aspect of what they are doing almost unconsciously sufficient value so that they actually take note of it. I'm going to focus on a flagship marine program that is managed by SAIAB, and that is the African Coelacanth Ecosystem Program. So ASIP is an open call project. Researchers from all over South Africa can apply for funding for a 3-year period, which, if they are successful, will give them funds to conduct the research and access to all the marine infrastructure that we offer. That just having that capacity in South African marine science has opened up a huge amount of information about our coasts. And our director was talking this morning about how this is contributing to the blue economy. So the Sustainable Development Goals drive an awful lot of the questions that are asked. As a result of our exposure to the Nucleus project and the principles of RRI, and bringing it into the discussion space of our research forum every quarter, I've now got a far more receptive audience amongst our researchers who are beginning to ask me to help them with research proposals. In other words, they know they have to integrate RRI or science engagement or engaged research, whatever the terminology that is used, into these research proposals, but they don't know how to do it, and they need some assistance there. And through Nucleus as well, I've become aware of so many different resources that are available that we can use directly to help inform the researchers and help them put these proposals together. So we're beginning to talk their language, but in a way that gets them to think about what they're doing differently. And I think that's going to be very promising. The big definite is that responsible research and innovation has been built into our Strategy 2025 document. Within that strategy statement, I have indicated that best case scenario for us would be what I'm calling a social innovation officer post. Social innovation fits into the innovation space, and I think everybody's thinking about technological innovation and all sorts of other innovations, but we need some social innovation as well. So that will be a position established at SAIAB to support RRI development here. And that person will be available to all our researchers across the board to go out with them into the field, to interact with people, answer their questions, find out what their questions are, and broker that space between the scientists and the public. So that I'm very excited about. And as I've said, we're going to be providing training in RRI. We're integrating engagement into our research planning for the funding proposals, and constantly see the bigger picture. And I think we're very lucky in that our leadership is very aware of the bigger picture. Thank you for the opportunity to actually be a voice. It's it's really wonderful to have been able to put our story across. It's difficult for other people to speak on our behalf, but I think we've gained tremendously from the project so far. It certainly, as I said, has enabled us to see ourselves from a global perspective, not as trying to catch up, but maybe as even being something of a leader in certain aspects. And I think that has been very good for us as well. And thanks very much for the opportunity.